the dark arts, the keys to hell, and the secrets of Satan himself. Obtain all power. Transform yourself into a living deity. Are you ready for the truth about black magic?
So yeah, pretty sure you already know today's topic, good old black magic. So stay tuned, you don't want to miss this. Hey everyone, FRATER Super Rabo here again. Thanks for checking out my channel, where we are and always will be the home of common sense occultism and practical magic. Thank you for joining me today. Really quick, as always, if you are new and you haven't already done so, please look below, find that big red button marked subscribe, and hit that for me now. Then look to the right or somewhere in that general direction, and you're going to see a bell. You want to make sure you hit that bell as well. That way you are notified each and every time we upload new content to this channel, and you can watch it as soon as humanly possible. One last thing, as always, please remember to like and share this and all videos. It goes a long way to helping us out, and it is very much appreciated. So for that, I thank you. So thank you. Okay, down to the business at hand. Today's topic, as already mentioned, is big scary black magic and the big scary black magicians with their minions from hell mouth fury that are coming and reaching out and causing chaos and destruction across the world as we know it. Who will save us from the big black magicians? Yeah, so as you can probably tell, I have a very strong opinion on this matter, and you can probably guess what it is. But we're going to talk about it anyway, and as always, I'm going to break it down from what I call the common sense occultist perspective. So, I really don't think we still need to be talking about this. This topic of black magic in general. There have been countless books written with sections about this and really laying out what magic is and just the fact that there simply is no black magic. Sorry folks, spoiler alert, there's no black magic. But due to, you know, other things where, and dare I say people, maybe even YouTubers, maybe, I don't know, promoting this idea of black magic, and we can even blame Crowley a little bit for this, and for some other things too that we just won't get into, but and you guys know that I like Crowley just as much as the next guy, but he does play a part in this use of this term that just shouldn't be used. Because magic is magic. There is no white magic. There is no black magic. There is just magic. It is a force. If you look at, let's take the one of the greatest magical cultures of all time, the ancient Egyptians. If you're involved in Western magic at all, you've probably done some research on Egyptian magic and know that magic was a part of their culture, their religion, and everyday life. They called it Heka. And there was no black Heka or white Heka. There was just Heka. It was the force that was used. The science and art of causing change. That's what it was, simply. So, again, magic is magic. I don't know why we have to keep saying this, but it is. Magic is magic. But then again, when you have things out there like YouTube videos that are titled, "There is no such thing as white magic. Black magic is the only thing that exists." One, that just makes no sense. And my hand to the gods, this is an actual video. I'm not going to say by who, but you can probably guess or search it and find out for yourself. But anyway, yeah, and it goes on this, multiple, I believe it was at like 15 minutes. It might have been longer. I don't know. I tried to sit through it and ended up stopping. But it seemed like an eternity. I don't know how long it was, but it seemed like forever, and I just couldn't help but laugh. And, anyway, it goes on and on about how black magic is the only magic and how white magic does not exist. And, like, seriously, that makes no sense. Because where there is one, you would have to have the other. And again, I just think it's stupid when magic is just magic. Now, I get it. I know what you guys are saying, and you're probably like, well, it's simple. They just use that for simplicity's sake to describe magic for a bad purpose or for selfish reasons, man. Or the magic of the light. That's a very popular one right now. The good old magic of the light, or white magic, as they used to call it. But we call upon the magic of the light to defeat the dark forces of the evil black magicians that are in power and that are oppressing us. Again, I sigh. So let me tell you the problem with this. The issue with this is evil or bad things, magic for a bad purpose, an evil purpose, is going to be relative to the situation. Anyone that uses any common sense will know that what is evil to one person is not necessarily evil to the next person. And in some cases, they both might be right. So you cannot use a overall umbrella term to define a type of magic and call it black magic and say, unless you have all the criteria that says this is what's under this category. Black magic is magic for evil, so you have to be able to define evil, which you cannot do. Now, I'm aware that there are a lot of things that 99.9% of human beings would agree on are evil or not good, things that we shouldn't do. I am not disputing that whatsoever. But when it comes to magic and causing change and different adverse reactions that may happen as a result of that magic that may not even have anything to do with the ritual in question or the original point of the ritual, other things can happen that might be considered evil or bad things, evil results in some people's minds. So would that then make the magical ritual that someone did for good purposes then evil and be black magic? You could see how, this can get really confusing really quick. And this is why it's important that we eliminate this. We need to get rid of these terms because we cannot, as magicians, we cannot define. That's the word I'm looking for. We cannot define what good or bad is. As magicians, we are not supposed to be polarized anyway. We're supposed to work for being balanced and a centrist in all things. And that is how we can bring about the most positive things. I'm not going to say positive and negative is out of balance or anything, because we all want good things and we want good things to happen. But at least from the general consensus is that the path of the magician should be the balanced path, to walk the middle path, the middle pillar, or whatever. I'm not getting into right hand, left hand path. Well, maybe I will, but anyway, we'll stick with the definition right now, and we'll see where the video goes. So, as I was saying, we can't call something black magic or whatever, green magic, purple magic, polka dot magic. We can't do that without being able to define what that is. And if you use a broad definition like magic for bad purposes, you have to, again, be able to list what a bad purpose is. And you have to be able to prove, if it's a definite, you would then have to be able to prove that blank, insert whatever act you're using for magic, is actually bad and evil. And you cannot do that. It is impossible. I mean, you can try and you can do it, and I get it, and I know people are probably going to say, you're making way too big a deal out of this. It's meant to make things simple. And I understand that. But I think as magicians or cunning folk or witches or whatever you consider yourself to be, I think it's up to us to really look at big picture things, especially when it comes to our craft, our art, which is magic. Excuse me. So, in that sense, it is very important. And this is going to kind of stray or lead into the next topic about this, is that when we fit everything into these two separate categories and try and, force it, this is black magic, this is white magic, this is the magic of the light, and this is the dark, evil magic with hellfire and powerful living on earth deity people. When we do that, it creates a whole host of characters in the magical community, and that's fine. I have my own little personality. Other people are free to have theirs, and that's cool. But when it becomes when people that are supposed to be leaders, okay, I'm just going to say this, and I am not going to call anyone out by name, or I'm not bashing anyone here. I'm just stating a simple common sense fact. When people that are supposed to be leaders are using the tactic of fear, in a sense, to gain a following or to push a narrative, or to capitalize financially, that's that's where it becomes a slippery slope, and where I get a little upset. Now, I'm all for capitalization. Okay, don't get me wrong. I think everybody should be paid for their time and their services. That's another topic we'll get into, as far as magic for money and money magic and being a hired magician or sorcerer or teacher or whatever. That's a topic for another day. But to suffice it to say, I am 100% for the business model and for being paid for what you do and your time and capitalization that way. I think that it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it, and I think it's very messed up that and again, another thing we can thank Crowley for, and other people, but this idea of getting paid for something or recognizing your worth as a bad thing that should be shamed and whatever. That's nonsense. And like I said, we'll talk about that another time. But when you specifically use the tactic of fear, in any sense, especially fear against magic as a whole, and try to demonize and stuff certain types of magic into this little black box that is your evil, to scare people into giving you money or to doing things your way. That's where I get a little upset, and I think we should talk about this and call people out on the BS. And I'm not saying you shouldn't exercise caution when doing magic and safety measures. I think that is something that is highly ignored, actually, and we should do more of. But when people use fear tactics trying to scare people into things and just use outlandish claims that or they take a little bit of truth and they stretch it and they stretch it. Oh, hit the microphone. Oops. They stretch it and they stretch it to fit their narrative, and that's just no. And that in the name of magic of the light or white magic, in a way, they are doing a what some people would consider to be an evil act. So this goes back to my earlier point that evil is relative, and even someone with good intentions, even if they're not doing it on purpose, okay? Say they're not doing it on purpose, and they really believe this, they believe the whole shebang of everything they're saying, and they don't even recognize they're using fear tactics in this weird, messed up type of way. Most of the time, I think they do. But anyway, let's say they don't, and they have nothing but good intentions. Well, again, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. But so they could still be committing, in a lot of people's minds, an act of evil or an act of black magic. And this is the so-called white magician. So I'm not trying to confuse anybody here, and I hope this makes sense, but you can see how just stating something or defining something as white and black, good and bad, can have not so good effects, because you can't fit everything into that box. You just can't. And you shouldn't try to. So this is another case of where doing something to try and make it simple can just confuse people even more. And then what happens? Where do we end up? We end up not doing magic at all. We end up scared and not knowing what's what or what's right. We end up losing friends because we're arguing over this being and that being, and it's just a lot of stupid crap that doesn't need to be happening. But again, we have people that are pushing this, good magic versus evil magic, and it's gone on for far too long. And we need to, as magicians, as common sense occultists and sorcerers out there, people, we need to just say enough. There is no black magic. There is no white magic. I do my magic, you do your magic. It's all magic. So then you say, Frater Super Robo, what about curses? That's black magic. Yes, if anything's black magic, it has to be curses. Again, no, it doesn't. It doesn't have to be anything, because there are various magical traditions where curses can be used for something that is so-called good. I mean, and people with the gods, the threefold law, just maybe we'll do a video on that, but that cracks me up. But you know, you'll see people that believe so-called in the, you know, in karma, and I believe in karma. Don't get me wrong, but I believe it in the cause and effect sense, not the, oh, I chopped down your cherry tree and lied about it and didn't tell you, so now I'm going to lose my whole crop of corn. Yeah, or I'm going to lose 3 trees. That just, anyway, I don't believe in karma in that sense. But anyway, back to my point is that you have people that believe in this type of karma, this threefold law, this you're getting back what you put in 3 times over, and if you do bad, 3 times bad is going to happen to you. But you'll see them skirt their own little law, their own principle, and say, oh, well, we don't harm anyone. But they'll weasel around it with loopholes and say, oh, well, I just did a spell to bind that person because I was just protecting myself. That's all I was doing. We found out that there was a bad person moving into the neighborhood that did some bad things, and he's, you know, they're bad. So we worked together to do this, to bind this person, and then they lost their job and they weren't able to move into the neighborhood, and that was good because it was for the greater good. You know what I mean? Sorry, buddy, but that's still a curse. So if you're going to put it into that category, into that box of black magic, again, still a curse. Still a curse. You can call it whatever you want, but it's still doing something, a way of magic to affect someone negatively for you to get something good or to protect yourself or whatever, and I am all for that. So if you ask me, am I for curses? Absolutely. Cursing just for cursing? No, I think that's ridiculous, just for anything else. Magic should be performed for, in my opinion, when you perform magic, it should be performed for what is your highest good at that time. What you are trying to do, what you are trying to accomplish, to live within the parameters of your life's purpose. Now, if that happens to mean that you need to curse someone that is trying to hurt you, or hex, or use whatever term, bind, you know, throw their name in a freezer, whatever, you know what I mean? Whatever helps you sleep at night, buddy. I'm 110% for that. Okay? Does that make me a black magician? No, it doesn't. Because again, there is no such thing. So I hope this is making somewhat sense and it just doesn't sound like some ranting YouTuber. Because I really do. I'm really sick of this conversation, and 2, like we need to move past this. We have so much knowledge at the click of a mouse, at the, you know, the touch of a keyboard now, when it comes to magic. There's some good information out there, but there's also some very, very bad information out there. So we as magicians that do the work, that are working towards positive change in our own lives, self-development, working towards our life's purpose, becoming the greatest version of ourselves through magic and our actions in daily life, we need to represent what magic really is and get rid of these false narratives, these false fear-based narratives. And I get it, and I've even been there before. I get if there's any people that are getting into magic because of the rebellious nature. Maybe they're at the I'm mad at Christianity, I'm mad at Abrahamic faith state. Maybe that's where they're at, and they want to rebel. I get that, and it might seem very cool, and really help them to be like, oh, okay, well, I identify with these dark powers, and I'm gonna be a demonologer, and you know, today's demons were the gods of the past. And yes, in a sense, a lot of that is true. It's a much bigger topic, though. It's not as cut and dry, simple as some people would lead you to believe. Again, that's a topic for another video. But my point is I get that. I get that rebelliousness, that this is the cool factor. But I'm going to let you in on a little secret, guys and gals. The magic is cool no matter what. So you heard it here first. Yeah, and I will always say that. Magic is just, it's freaking cool, man. What is not cool about it? Nothing. It's awesome. So, yeah, you don't need to, be the guy that says, well, I am in control of all the powers of hell, and we're gonna open the gates of hell, and blah blah blah, and screw angels and all, and the God of Abraham, and blah blah blah, and yada yada yada, and act all cool, and it's because it's really not. And if you do choose to go that route, which is if it be your will, go ahead. But you're going to find yourself having to reconcile yourself one day. You will. Trust me on this. You will have to reconcile with certain magical practices, because you're going to find that in the books you're going to see a whole bunch of Hebrew. You're going to see a whole bunch of other stuff that comes from, Abrahamic Judeo-Christian sources. And you're going to have to create your own system and do all this stuff, and you're going to miss a lot of the building blocks because of that anger or whatever, just because you think it's a little more cool to, be on this team. Well, my point is that there aren't teams per se, because in my experience, there is no, it's not like the NFL, Dallas versus Washington here, and then you got the these guys on this side, the good guys or whatever, the angels, and then you got the big bad spirits, the demons, the lesser beings or whatever they would have you to believe on this side. It's just not the way it is. If you really look at systems of magic, you will see that, even if you want to consider these other beings lesser or bad in a sense, they play a part in the business of creation, just like the angels. Enochian magic is a perfect system of things, showing how everything has its place. Everything has its duty, and this is what works over this, and this is this, and this is under this, and this controls this. But they're all little pieces that fit into the puzzle of creation and how the world works. So all of these beings, if you're looking at it in a spirit model perspective, they're going to serve a purpose, which is why you would call upon certain beings to obtain a certain result or knowledge. I'm getting off topic, but and all that stuff we can go into when we start talking about grimoire magic and things like that and other systems of magic. But to stay on task here, black magic, it's just not a thing. It's not a thing, and I hope that you guys get something out of this and at least see that we can't keep pushing this narrative for simplicity, because magic isn't simple. I mean, it comes at a cost. There is a price for magic. There's difficulties and things that you're going to go through, and it's just not easy. So defining stuff or trying to fit something in this nice little tidy little box of black magic or magic of the light, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. And the more you practice and become more of a centrist, which I hope you do. I hope everyone, I'd like to think if you're watching this channel, you believe in the message of doing the work and achieving results and not just talking about it. So if you are doing the work and you're walking the path, the middle path, even if you lean right or left, working with more so-called darker entities, or I like to use the term chthonic. I think that fits a lot better. You can use underworld. You can say, pagan gods. But, again, on that sense, you can't do, because there are very much pagan gods. And me, I'm a polytheist. I know this. There are very much ones that are in a demonic sense, and then there's ones that are in a more celestial type, heavenly type of deity. So it's not black and white, guys. It's a lot more complex. But when it comes down to it, it's all magic. And what I encourage you to do is find out what magic calls to you, what speaks to you, what gets you results. Success is thy proof, after all. So, experiment, find out things. Don't shy away from something completely just because so-and-so said this, or you think that it fits in some sort of narrative, which it may not. You think something's bad, but, it might have some good in it. And let's stop the fear-based tactics, fellow magicians. Let's stop let's start using some more common sense, and let's stop the fear-based tactics. Magic is cool enough on its own. You don't need to scare people into doing it. So yeah, that's really all I got, guys. Magic is magic. End of story. Maybe I'll do a part 2 on this if you want. Comment below. But to me, it's just common sense. We have magic. There is no black magic. There is no white magic. It's all gray, is what some people would say, is a famous line. And that's another one. People say, well, I do gray magic because I'm in the middle. Or gray magic is something that you do that's not necessarily working towards higher consciousness or theurgy, but it's thaumaturgy, but it's just not bad or harming people. Okay, bro. Yeah, so I'm a gray magician. Cool. Ultimately be whatever you want to be as a magician. But I just think that trying to fit things into this, it causes more questions than answers. And if you don't see that now, I guarantee you after a few years of doing this, you will, because you're going to learn a lot more. Even if you think you know so much right now and you have been at it for a while, you're going to learn even more and be like, wow, what the heck? Like, I know nothing compared to what I knew before. Like, I can't believe I thought that way. And it happens. So, when it comes to, even things that seem simple like this, like calling something black or white, over time, you can see that there's much, much more to it. And sometimes even the smallest little things like that can cause more harm than good in your personal practice, in the magical community at large, whatever. And again, I stress this, or I try to. If anyone's watching this for the first time or seeing me for the first time, I am no guru. I do not claim to be. I am not one of these people that is like, come follow me. Sure, I want you to subscribe to the channel and get my merch and all that great stuff. And yeah, that's wonderful. And I love people to share my videos and help spread the message. But I am not someone that claims to have all the answers. All that I'm doing here is trying to give factual information that's helpful to people, because I didn't have that when I started out. I didn't have someone to say, hey, don't do this, or whatever. And the people that did, it didn't always make sense, or I read up and found out that it wasn't necessarily true or whatever. And I think that, it's important to give back in a way so that, if I can help anyone, I can. At least I tried. I've always known I've been called to teach. Do I have all the answers? Absolutely not. But ultimately everyone has to find out, his or her true will and life's purpose for themselves, what's going to help them the most. I just go with what I know works and with what I have learned over my time in doing this. So take from it what you will. I hope this was helpful. If you thought so, please give it a thumbs up. If you thought it sucked, you can give it a thumbs down, but I'm hoping I won't get too many thumbs down. Maybe a couple mad atheistic Satanists here and there might give me a thumbs down, but hey, I still love you guys just the same. Yeah, that's about it. So if you want more detail on this, we can go into it. I do plan on doing a more history-based vehicle. I don't know why I said vehicle, or I was about to say vehicle. A more history-based video on like left-hand path versus right-hand path, and Levian Satanism and things like that. Because they're topics that I think are of interest and that are important, and there's a lot of false information out there, and I want to clear things up. I'm not a Satanist, by the way, but in case you didn't know, I am not a Satanist. Yeah, so that's about it. Everyone, look below in the description. There's all sorts of cool things. You can follow me on social media, the Instagrams, the Twitters, and Facebook. Also, check out the merch store. It has a lot of awesome stuff where you can proudly don shirts and merchandise to show you are a part of the team and you are a CSO, which stands for Common Sense Occultist, and all that good stuff. So all those links are below in the description. If you'd like to be part of the team as well and be a patron, there's a lot of awesome rewards that are offered. So yeah, if you want to help out the channel and help spread the message of common sense occultism and practical magic, and help us to improve this channel, then please consider pledging on Patreon. That link is below. Regardless of which, I thank everyone for watching, and I will be back very, very soon. So, till next time, see ya. Have a magical day, guys.